Welcome to Rebuilding the Beast. On this show, we are going to have so many transformative stories, evolution stories, comeback stories. I hope you can take the tips from all these stories and apply it to your life as well. This podcast is about using your life as a masterclass. You'll tell the story of what you overcame, and that itself will be someone else's survival guide. Welcome to Rebuilding the Beast. How do you like to be introduced? Actress? Singer? Artist? Connoisseur?
I think maybe artist. Yeah.
I love it. Welcome to the Rebuilding the Beast podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here because I've been wanting to have this conversation for a long time. We've been talking about this for a while, and we finally get to have this conversation. I feel like you're just an inspiration to a lot of people, just from watching your Instagram and seeing the way that you talk about a lot of things that are personal, right? Whether it's through your music or just through your Instagram lives and the conversations you have. You're very free in that sense. But I want to go into your story and let's talk about Alexa Mansour.
Where do I begin?
Where do we start? So you grew up in LA.
Yes.
Your mom is from Mexico.
Yes.
Your dad is from Egypt.
Yes.
Precious childhood memories, how you grew up.
Precious childhood memories. I'm going to be completely honest when I say that my memory span is really bad. So if someone reminds me of something that has happened and be like, oh yeah, that I remember that. But for me to think back and think about like clear memories, I can't do it. And it's the weirdest thing in the world. I do remember like my dad and my mom would take me to this park in Marina del Rey by the Cheesecake Factory. It was right by the first place I ever lived in. And my dad would just go down the slide with me all the time. And that's like, I have like dreams of that night where I'm like a little kid again and doing that. So I think that's one of my oldest memories. Wow. But for the most part, the only thing that I can really remember are lines and like songs and stuff. It's really strange.
Took over the memory.
Yeah, it really did.
But okay, what about, so a Mexican and Egyptian household? You might be the only person I know that's that combination of ethnicities. What is that like in the home? Like what food are y'all eating at home? Is it mostly Mexican food? Is it mostly Egyptian food?
It was mostly Egyptian because my dad would always cook and my mom's a great cook. But my dad's very judgmental about other people's food. So it would always be my dad cooking, and he was a great cook. He's always been a great cook. But there was no pork in the house because obviously my dad's Muslim. So we weren't able to eat that. So my sister and I would not sneak out, but like on Sundays when we would go see my mom's parents, we would all go to this place called Houston's. They have like ribs and stuff. Yeah. And we would get pork ribs, and that would be like the highlight of our week. Every single week.
I didn't know there was a Houston's here in LA.
There was. I think it closed down. I think it was in like Manhattan Beach or something, but it's gone now.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what is there a part of your home that was still Egyptian, there's Mexican, there are traditions that you followed at home? We
were very much, my sister and I, we loved doing Christmas and all that kind of stuff. So we leaned a little more towards the Catholic side of the family. But my dad was really bent on us becoming Muslim. So we would go to the mosque and do all that stuff. And like Sunday school wasn't at the church, it was at the mosque.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I do that with my mom. My mom would take us. My dad wouldn't even be there. My mom just wanted us to know his culture and know more about our just our backgrounds and whatnot. But there wasn't like anything crazy in the sense of like you have to do this at this time, like wake up and pray at this time. They were lenient in that sense, which I'm really happy about. Like there was no religious like fights over religion or anything like that in my household.
I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
But I grew up in Nigeria. Nigeria is half Muslim.
Oh, wow.
I've only ever known religious conflict. And so this is why it's really interesting for me to hear it from your perspective, a home that was both Catholic and Muslim.
Yeah.
But where your mom is taking you to the mosque for Sunday service, or Sunday school rather. And how did they even meet? How did those worlds collide?
I might butcher the story, but from what I remember, my mom was walking down the street somewhere around UCLA, because that's where she went to school. And my dad saw her and turned his car around.
Oh.
Yeah, but she like did not like him. She was like, I'm sorry, you're old, you're gross. This is never going to work. Because he was a lot older than her.
How much older?
He's 20 years older than her.
Wow.
Yeah,
He
and
must have had some game or some persistence or something.
he had a lot of things. And I think 'cause she was like 18 when they met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe a little older. Maybe I could be wrong, but she was definitely younger than him. I'd say 18
I
or
am
20.
32, and so that math does not feel good right now
No,
for me,
it
myself.
feels weird, right? But I feel like maybe back then, because people were getting married at 18, 19
Mhm.
back then and like having 15 kids, where it's like nowadays, some people don't even get married. They're just together for years and years and years, and they have kids together.
At the time she was in school, she was at UCLA.
She was in, yeah, UCLA.
And conflicts at home, because that's another thing. Like,
Ooh.
you're bringing a guy home that's 20 years older,
Yeah,
that's Muslim, and you're Catholic.
our families don't like each other.
Mm.
Like my mom's family and, well, my dad's mother, who I met when I was a baby, I don't really remember her. She was an angel. She came out from Egypt and spent time with my mom, my dad when they were having health issues and took care of me. And she was always there and she loved my mom's mom as well. But it's more so the men in the family that just, they didn't like my dad. And there was almost a level of, I don't want to say racism, but a lot of cultural differences.
So for you, as you're now an adult and you're dating, or well, I'm not going to assume, but with that, like, does that also put do you now adjust your dating because of what you've seen with your parents? Because a lot of us do that, right? A lot of people say girls date their dads, guys date their moms.
So I've kind of noticed that a little bit in like certain tendencies, but for the most part, I don't think so. Everyone that I've dated has been very different from my dad. There are little things that come out that I'm like, okay, I don't like that. And I'm the kind of person that if there's one thing that I don't like, there's no salvaging this. No, because I'm not going to try and fix you. I'm not going to try and change you and turn you into somebody that you're not. But I mean, the big thing with my dad, once again, love him to death, but he's Egyptian, Middle Eastern country. Cheating's a really big thing there,
Cheating is not allowed, or cheating
it's like, it's okay to have more than one wife.
Okay.
And like more than one partner. And I use that, like, I'm just going to say that's his excuse for the way that he acted. So that's more so what I look for in a partner, is someone that's not like him in that sense. Great dad, terrible husband.
Loyalty is a big thing for you.
Huge. Yeah.
So a lot of us growing up, people who get to do things in life, get to be artists, we had a lot of okay, let me go back. A lot of us growing up had a lot of difficult experiences as kids, right? We were bullied, or we struggled to fit in. Did you have that as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my high school experience, my middle school experience, my school experience was miserable.
The whole school?
The whole school
time.
experience. Maybe preschool was okay.
Wow.
But
all the way back to preschool.
Oh, it was terrible. I was always picked on. I was always bullied. I was just the easy target, and I was nice. I've never been one to tell someone like, I'm sorry, but you really need to stop. And, I just take it and be like, okay, well, if that's what you think of me, then you're probably right. So that took a big toll on my mental health, even up until now. It's stuff that when you're a kid and people say all that stuff to you, you're so young and you're so impressionable that it sticks in there,
What is it that, why would they pick on you? Why were you an easy target?
I was always eating. I loved food. Coming from a Mexican and Egyptian family, food was like my parents' love language. And then I lost my hair when I was 12. It just started falling out in clumps, which I didn't notice in the beginning because I had so much of it. And then my mom would notice it because she would have to brush my hair. And then by the time I was like 14, I had like patches in the back of my head and started only wearing my hair up. There would be like a big spot or whatever, and I would have kids just call me baldy, call me this and that and the other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they found reasons. So
as a young guy, especially, I was picked on a lot when I was growing up, but then when I came to America, I had a very thick accent, and that was one of the things they picked on me. They picked on me.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they really made fun of, was just like they would all say these things about being African, African booty scratcher, there's all these crazy jokes that I didn't really know how to defend myself against, right? Because they looked at me a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And now, especially when I became bigger and stronger and more confident, I felt like it was my job
Mm-hmm.
to look out for the kids that were being picked on.
Yeah.
And this, especially now, I work with the kids of the YMCA, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
work with kids from low income neighborhoods. Like these are the things I want to instill confidence in them, because when they do say these things about you, usually it's a reflection of whatever they're
Yeah.
going through, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to say, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You can stand up to the bully. You don't ever have to get into a, like somebody tells you, hey, you're this. I had somebody on the podcast
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and she was talking about how when somebody says to her, you can't do this thing because you're ... She responds, she was like, okay, whatever you say.
Mm-hmm.
But in herself, because she knows who she is, she says, I will show you.
Right.
And now she's showing the world, because she's now one of the more famous choreographers in the world.
Wow.
But it's because of that self-assuredness. What is it that you would say to kids who are being bullied?
I think you know yourself the most. So it doesn't really matter what anyone says to you. At the end of the day, you know who you are. So their words shouldn't matter. And that's what's helped me get through everything.
How do you find strength in yourself? How do you get to know who you are? This is a question for you on your
Mm-hmm.
own journey. How were you able to find your own strength?
I've always kind of looked at the fact that I mean, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe someone could have taken something that I've said and been hurt by it. But I've never outrightly said anything to hurt somebody, or I've never done anything with the intent of someone else having a negative impact on them. So knowing that about myself, I sleep in peace. I'm okay with who I am, and just finding stuff that I really enjoy, that I find that I'm good at, and burying my head in that kind of stuff. It's just, might be putting all my eggs in one basket, but I find that when I really focus on what makes me happy and not worry about everybody else, that's when I'm the best.
I also know another thing that helped give me confidence was having this thing to focus on. Basketball was one of the things that came into my life that I felt like gave me purpose. And not that putting the ball and dribbling was the thing that gave me purpose, but like it was something that I loved.
Yeah.
And in working on it and seeing the improvements, I just gained confidence naturally. For a kid who was really shy, having to go play in the stage full of thousands of people, there was a whole journey there.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about you and acting. How
Mhm.
did you get into it?
Well, I was really shy too.
Really?
I wouldn't talk to anybody, partly because I was also scared that they were going to bully me even more if I said anything. So my mom put me in acting classes as a way to get me to open up and make friends and just branch out from the people at school. And while it did do that, it made me realize that I really liked acting. It was so fun to just not be Alexa for a little bit and go all out, and no one's judging you, and it felt like a safe space. And I realized, I was like, I love this. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to go to college. If I could have left high school, I probably would have done that too. But I finished high school and started touring universities, and I realized, I was like, this isn't for me. I know what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And so I just stuck to it.
You good from the beginning?
I don't think so. I think I was very self-conscious in the beginning. Like, I was scared to take risks and do things that were outside of the box.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one skit that I did in my acting class, and it was improv. And we're all sitting at a dinner table, supposedly, and my character, I decided to make her pregnant. And I decided to make her going into labor at the dinner table. I was like 14 when I did this.
Wow.
And I just started went full on screaming, I'm having this baby right now. This is
Sounds
it.
amazing. I would have watched that.
It was so much fun, because I was like, I didn't care if they're, and I heard people laughing, and not once the thought, are they laughing at me, popped in.
It was like egging you on. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're laughing because of what you were doing. Yeah,
Mhm.
that sounds hilarious.
Yeah. So after that moment, I was like, I'm just going to, do it. And if someone has something to say about it, then so what?
Do you remember your first high was that your first high from
I think so.
acting?
Yeah.
Because I remember my first good game.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, it wasn't even a good game. It was a good moment.
Yeah.
You gotta know where I started. I started from like being really bad at basketball.
Were you really?
What? I came to the United States at 14. I had never picked up a basketball in my life.
Wow. So did you start playing basketball when you were 14 or?
Started playing when I was 15.
Wow.
And when so my first game, the first time I ever played in a game, I didn't know the rules, right? So I didn't know at halftime you switch sides of the court. And so my first basket I ever scored in basketball was against my own team.
Oh my God.
So people were not laughing with me at all. They were not laughing with me at all. They were laughing at me. And for a kid who's 15 years old, that's really hard, especially when you get cut. I got cut from the team because they were like, yo,
Because of that?
it wasn't necessarily because of that one thing. It was a bunch of things like that where it's like, dude, it's too late. I don't think that we have enough time to teach you all the rules for you to understand. Kids have been playing since they were 3 years old.
Wow.
So later on, I end up meeting this guy who was kind of like my savior. And he introduces me to the game again through his own team. And he puts his arm around me when I made these mistakes. I remember a moment when I had my first dunk in a game. And it was in a sea of people where I was just like, it's almost like you just discover your superpower.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like maybe I can do this. Now you still have stumbling moments after this,
Right.
but it was just that little glimmer of light that I kept holding on to. Like, let me just get to the next glimmer and and eventually start becoming more frequent. And then it's like, then you put together a good game. They're like, oh wow, I can do that. And
That's
then
awesome.
that's kind of how it goes. Is that how your journey went?
Oh yeah. It took me a while to even get an agent. And when I had my first agent meeting, it was somewhere in Beverly Hills off of like Rodeo Drive. And I thought it was so cool. I was like, I'm in Beverly Hills, I'm getting this meeting. And the guy to my face was like, sorry, you're too green.
Oh.
And I felt so confident going into that meeting, and I left that meeting crying. It was the first person that I went to go meet, and it was a good agency. Like, I shouldn't have thought that I was going to go straight there from the beginning. So I go back to acting classes, keep working at it, do another showcase, and I finally get a commercial agent. The ball's rolling, I book a bunch of commercials. This leads into a TV and film agent. And that just got the ball rolling to get to where I am now. I'm with UTA now. And I remember when I was like 18, 19, I would walk past UTA just hoping that there'd be an agent outside that would see me and be like, she's the one. And now I'm repped by them, and it's just, it's crazy to me.
Do you believe in manifestation?
I do now. Yeah.
That's a concept that's it's not new to me, like subconsciously, but intentionally it's new to me because now I'm like, wow, I can really call forth this thing that I have no business doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the first game I ever watched was a Kobe Bryant game. And during this game, my uncle says to me, you never know, maybe someday you'll be out here on the court. And at this point, like, it's like me telling you, Alexa, you can go build a rocket ship and go to space. Not that it's impossible, but where do I even go get rocket parts? I don't know. Like, I don't know what that means, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I think, okay, let me finish that story because fast forward, because at this point, after this, I get cut from my high school team. So like, there's no, like, I don't even know. I mean, you're talking about me watching NBA players. I can't even make a high school team. And so these are gods of the game. And I'm watching Kobe Bryant, and he's phenomenal. Like, in the sea of like the extraordinary, he was still one of those people that he stood out. And I'm like, this is crazy. I can't believe that you're telling me that I could be out here with these people and this guy.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, and this is when I was 14. I was thinking I was 15 at the time. Fast forward, I get drafted. I'm 22 years old. First game was against the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh my God.
Against Kobe.
How did that feel?
I couldn't sleep the night before the game. And I'm starting this game, and I'm in the starting lineup, and I just remember walking up to the center circle. Kobe puts out his fist, give me a fist bump, and my fist is shaking because I don't understand what's happening. I'm like, this cannot be my life.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about manifestation. Do you have any other stories like this about your own about your own journey where you felt like I want this thing and then you ended up having it?
I don't know if it wasn't so much of like I want this thing. I remember being in Puerto Rico and I was doing a recurring guest star. So I wasn't a series regular on the show. I was there. I had like a good 6 to 7 episodes on the show. So we went to this beach, hung out with all the cast members, leave the beach, and I'm in the car with a writer, and she's driving us back to the hotel that we're staying at. And we're just joking around, like, what if there was a show where there's like this older disgraced cop, and then you're like, Alexa, you're the rookie, and you're just kind of, and she's at this new precinct, and you guys are just butting heads, but you make a great team. Ooh. And I was like, I was kind of drunk, honestly. She was driving because I had been drinking. I was like, that's so funny. Like, that could be a really funny show. But come on, me playing a cop. Fast forward to now. I get the call from my manager. Hey, you just got the offer for Avalon on ABC where you're going to be playing a deputy.
Wow.
With another woman, with Nev Campbell, who is absolutely amazing. She plays the older cop who kind of gets not shunned, but like transferred to Catalina, to Avalon, to be the cop there because she had something going on back at the LAPD. Like, oh, I kind of spoke that into existence with this other writer.
That's crazy.
It's really nuts.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Take me through the process of getting a role. What does that look like? What does it look like to go through the casting, through the different call-ups? And yeah, just take me through that. I don't know that world.
It's stressful. It kind of sucks. COVID has kind of ruined in-person auditions, which a lot of people hate. I am so happy that I don't have to be in the room anymore, because then you go in, you see so-and-so and this person, you're like, why are they going to hire me if that person's right there? So not going in the room has kind of been my saving grace. But basically you get an email, your agents say, okay, here's the project, here's the role. If you want to go or if you want to do it, let us know. I'm not going to be like, no, I don't want to do it. You know, I will audition for every single thing that they send me.
Love it.
So they send you the email. Nowadays you do the tape, which I go to like a studio like this or something where you rent out the space for 20, 30 minutes and someone reads with you, they edit your tape and they send it into your people. And after that, sometimes there'll be a callback where it'll be on Zoom. So then you're talking with the director, you're talking with casting, you're doing the lines in front of them. And then usually after that, you either got the job or you don't. But like when I did Walking Dead, must have been 6 in-room meetings.
Was that normal?
I don't think so, but I think because it was a brand new show and it was such a massive thing that there was casting, original audition with casting, callback with casting, meeting with writer and producer and director, second meeting with writer, producer, and director, and then a test in front of the network.
And each time you're doing this, because this was before COVID.
Yeah.
So each time you were doing this by yourself. You weren't seeing other people there.
When I went, no, yeah, there were people there, because every time that I would go, there'd be a bunch of us just sitting in a room waiting for them to call our name.
Okay.
But I remember going into the 4th or 5th meeting, and everyone's in and out in 10 minutes. And I spent an hour in that meeting.
That make you feel good?
Oh, yeah, because I knew I killed it. And I don't feel that way about everything, but I was like, I'm so perfect for this role. I know I'm going to get this, and nothing's going to stop me.
You made me think about something earlier when you said, sometimes I see people there who are other big names, and I'm like, if this person is here, why would they hire me? So there's this thing in basketball, I feel. Okay, so there's this thing in basketball where if I wanted to go play, I'm going to say me because I'm just say anybody, X. If they want to go play against Steph Curry today, right? Before you decide to go play against him, you've already kind of decided in your mind that Steph Curry is the best player in the world, right?
Okay.
And so in your mind, you're like, I don't really stand a chance. So you're playing against Steph Curry, but you're also playing against yourself because you're also playing against your self-doubt. So in acting, I wonder how that shows up if you're going into a scene and you get to have your best performance, Do those come when you just feel like your full self and you're just expressing yourself?
Yeah.
How does the self-doubt also take away from that?
I think it takes away from it mostly when I'm not as prepared as I should be, which is something that I can honestly say I did lack a little bit. Like, I didn't take it serious enough in the beginning. I didn't know my lines completely by heart. I would still look at the paper every now and then, and that in itself would take me out of the moment to be like, right, okay, now I got it. Because that's how I learned was you have the paper in front of you and you can look down. And when I finally made the choice to buckle down and know it backwards, forwards, whatever, that's when going in the room became so much easier. And the more that I did it, the more I realized, like, oh, it doesn't matter if Vanessa Hudgens, whatever, I saw her for an audition once, if she's sitting right there, because she is still auditioning. Like, we are in the same boat right now. We both still have to do this to get a job. So I don't know. And then the more confident that I became with myself, just from growing up and stuff, helped a lot.
How much work does it take for you to memorize a script?
Ooh. Luckily, we don't have to memorize full scripts for anything most of the time.
Just sections?
Yeah. Like, if we say we'll do, like, in a day, we'll do, like, 6 scenes. So you'll have scene 23, 25, 28, 30, whatever. Depending on how long the scene is, I'll usually memorize it right before I go on, because it doesn't take me that long anymore. I've kind of just figured out a way to look at it and get it, if that makes sense, which I wish I could have done that in high school, because I could not memorize anything in school.
But you need these steps, though.
I know. But it would have made it so much easier.
Yeah, I wish we all could memorize stuff in high school. You imagine how easy it would have been? I actually no, never take that back, because I do have kind of a memory like that. And
have you had that your whole life?
College, I think I discovered that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it helped me a lot, but I wish I discovered that earlier.
Yeah.
Tell me about building up why can I not speak English today? Tell me about building up self-esteem and how that self-confidence has also continued to translate, especially, I know who your mom is, right? I know your mom, and just watching her as just a confident person in who she is. How much has she taught you about your own self-esteem and your own self-worth and, just knowing who you are?
My mom is a very confident person, yes. She's super secure in herself. And I'm not that way. I don't think I've ever been that way. And even now, I don't look at myself and I'm like, you're it. Like, you're awesome. Do you know what I mean? There's still a lot of stuff that I need to fix with myself. And I'm not just saying that, like, I'm not where I want to be, and I can accept that and do the things that I need to do to get me where I want to be. But I admire my mom so much because I see her and, my God, the things that she's gone through. And for her to still be standing there and strong and just being like, having the attitude, hit it, move on, you're going to get over it. Which I personally don't agree with that method. I think you should talk about things and be open about what's going on. But I look at her and she's just a force of nature and she's awesome. But we are very, very different people.
Do you think that there are people out there who don't feel like they have things to work on?
No.
That's the point of this podcast,
Yeah.
is we're all rebuilding in some way. We're all trying to figure it out, right? Yeah. That is one thing that I realized for myself personally. Mm-hmm. They gave me so much more, I don't want to use the word confidence, but it was just this assuredness in the person that God created me to be.
Yeah. And
so my mom used to say this thing all the time. She said, if we always, and I think this is an African parable as well, that if we all sit in a circle and we all had to throw all our problems in a circle, that you would quickly look at everybody else's stuff and grab yours right back. And there's just this idea that I never want to exchange. Like, people like, who would you want to be if you could exchange lives with anybody? I would never want to be anybody else in my life.
Yeah.
Not because I think I'm perfect, but I'm really perfect for me. Like, I love who I am because of the person I am. Like you said, how your intention is never to hurt anybody. Like, that's how I feel about me. I just enjoy the journey I'm on, and the journey of self-discovery, the journey of, like, going from the bullied kid to the kid who's
Yeah.
standing up for other people, going from the kid who was really bad at basketball to being an NBA champion.
Yeah.
You know, that journey to me is like, I don't want God to just give me everything from the front.
Oh, 100%. I would never want to be anyone but me, and I wouldn't change a single thing that I've gone through, because I'm here because of what I went through. You know? So I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Let's give some shout out. Let's give a shout out to Mom. Let's talk about her a
Mom's
little bit.
awesome.
And you know, some of the things that she's taught you, because I could sit here for hours.
Yeah.
And talk about all the parables and all the stories and all the quotes that my mom has given me to help me keep pushing forward when I felt like I couldn't go anymore. So what are some of the things that she said to you or told you, or stories, quotes, things that helped you keep going when you felt like you couldn't?
Well, she definitely sends me a lot of Instagram quotes all the time.
Yeah.
On my, but they're like the cheesy ones, you know, like a mother's love is unconditional, like, you know, stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, Mom, that's really cute, but it's 4 a.m. I think the biggest thing that she's taught me is don't rely on anyone, and just like, it's every man for themselves in a way. And she didn't say it in a malicious way, like everyone's out to get you. It's just like, be so secure in yourself that you don't have to worry about relying on somebody else for anything. And that's a really big thing for me, because I've had friends and people that I know where they have to rely on their significant other, you know, or they can't do something without them. And that makes me so nervous, because I'm like, I love my dad to death, but there was a period of time that he was not there. And the feeling that I felt at that point, where I was so out of control and I couldn't do anything, I vowed, I was like, I will never feel that way again, and I will never let my mom and my sister feel that way again. So a lot of what I do now, not that my mom accepts anything from me, but it's like, it's to have that safety net of like, God forbid something happens, my sister's never going to have a problem in her life, and my mom's never going to have to worry about anything. So yeah, her teaching me to be self-sufficient turned into me wanting to take care of everybody. But
yeah, no, I love it. You are also a big sister. I'm a big brother. I'm the first
nice.
of 5, and
oh wow,
you're the older sister. So what is it like being an older sister?
it's tough. I've definitely had a lot of moments in my life where I've done things that I really shouldn't have done, and I'm really grateful that I have a sister that has forgiven me for those things, and I've forgiven myself for those kinds of things. But it is tough to be an example for somebody, you know, because you want to be the best possible example, but there's also times where you kind of have to be there for yourself, and you can't always be thinking like, okay, will this affect them, this and that and the other. It's like, no, I need to take care of myself, because at the end of the day, I'm with myself 24/7. So I think that's been the toughest part, and we've had a rocky relationship growing up. I think it's been maybe in the past 2-3 years that we've really become close. Now I see her nearly every day, and we don't really fight anymore, which is really nice. We'll go out and do things together. So things change and they get better.
People ask me all the time, is it stressful being the first of 5? Like you have to be the example for everybody. I'm like, no, they are actually all feel like they're all my bigger siblings, because
Really?
they're all the ones that look out and support and try to push me. And for me, I'm inspired by that, because there's never any pressure from my family. Like, to be honest, in my life, the pressure that I feel is from outside forces, right? It's from like new friends. Like, because even my real close friends, if I said, yo, like, I don't feel like, if I ever said, I don't feel like being here, I don't feel like doing this, they're like, let's not do it. We're not doing it.
That's
Nah,
awesome.
we want you to be your best and to show up that way. And so for me, being an older sibling has also been this thing that rejuvenates me. It makes me feel like I have a purpose, because my younger siblings are watching me, you know?
Yeah. Right,
Okay, let's go back into your career. And you scored a role in Walking Dead, the kind of break that a lot of actors and actresses dream of.
Yeah.
Did you always have faith that that day would come, or were there also moments of doubt?
It's one of those things that seems so good to be true that you don't really think it could happen to you until it actually does. And I didn't believe it until I was on that set, covered in blood and guts, and, you know, seeing zombies every 5 seconds. Like, it wasn't until I was actually there that it hit me. And I was like, oh, I did this.
Wow.
Because I didn't really have anything that I'd done before that. I did a couple guest stars and small roles on things. And even when my agent called me, I hung up the phone on him because I was like, I'm so over what you're saying right now. But he called me and he was like, huh, this doesn't really happen. Like, that happened a little fast. And I was like, thank you. He goes, yeah, no, that's cool. I was like, great. Awesome. Then my manager called me. He's like, you got The Walking Dead. And it was great. But yeah, it was something just really out of the blue that I wasn't expecting. But I'm like that with every single role that I get. I can't, like, it's like that high. Like, probably when you finish a game or something, you know, that it's just like this rush of dopamine that you're like, oh, I did that. What I've wanted to do.
What is the championship in your world? Is it winning an Emmy?
I've never gone as far as to think about awards. I don't know how you get there, you know, and I'm sure it could happen. I don't have any doubt about that. But that it also depends on the role that you do, I think. I don't know. I just want to do something that really touches people. And I don't know. I think the jackpot would just be a role that's really dear to my heart that I feel like affects a lot of people.
Your show is something that's watched by I don't know how many people around the world, The Walking Dead. And what is it like to be a part of something that's so big? Because you signed a long-term contract.
Yeah.
7 years?
I signed a 7-season contract, and we ended up becoming a limited series, which just kind of goes to show how crazy and...
What does that mean?
We were supposed to go on for 7 seasons, just like the original's gone on for, I think, 11 or 12. The other one has gone on for like 6 or 7 now. And so we expect it to be a long-running show. But some stuff happened. AMC had changed presidents, and the new president was just kind of like, I don't want to do any more Walking Dead. We're done with this. And then she left. And our show got stuck as a limited series, a 2-season limited series, which, you know, it served its course, and I'm really happy for that job. I would go back in a split second if they called me, and my character never died. So I'm like, if you want me back, I'm there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's given me the tools to go and do a lot of other things. So I'm really happy about that.
You know what's one thing that I didn't realize with your job is that when you are hired for a job, you rarely know the people you're acting with, the directors, this is like it's like me every time I go play a game being on a new team.
Yeah.
I guess it would be like for a season because you would be working to create a show or a movie. What is that like, being in a new setting?
It's nerve-wracking because you never know how people are going to be. You look at people on TV and you get this idea of them, but they could be the complete opposite in person.
Wow.
You know, luckily I haven't had a bad experience where I've been on a set where the people are rude or have a chip on their shoulder. There was one person, which I'm not going to name. But I'd say 99% of the people that I've worked with have been absolutely incredible. And like, especially this new job that I just finished, we finished the pilot. I was so nervous because I've watched Neve Campbell for years. I've been a huge fan of her. And I'm thinking, oh no, what if she doesn't like me and we're in every scene together, and what if we don't get along? I don't think I've met a nicer human being than her. So
does that help when you have somebody who is a big star? That I don't know what nicer means in terms of when you guys are acting together, but does that help you?
Yeah. It's seeing someone with that level of success who has not let it get to her head. And I mean, when she's on in front of the camera, she is on. She is so good. She's so natural at it. It's just really fascinating to watch, and it helps me too. Because like, if the other person is giving you something, it's so much easier to act opposite of them.
The stereotypes I've heard or felt of actors and people in the spotlight is so much different than when I get to know them in person. I became really good friends with Neil McDonough. He was actually on the podcast. and hearing him talk about his faith and the love he has for his wife. I mean, the man didn't even he refused to do scenes because they were sex scenes, because he said, "I'm not sleeping with anybody that's not my wife."
Wow.
And it cost him, but he's now acting and producing and doing things that are fulfilling to him, and he's even more successful now because he chose his own path. Now back to you and saying that you see this big actor, and I'm sure that when people come on the set and they see you, they're like, wow, like I'm acting with Alexa Mansour. And so learning from them, and the way that they're, when you see somebody who's big and they're so humble and kind or whatever it is, you say it helps you.
Yeah.
How does seeing that also affect you and the way that you approach your job? Because there are people out there who see you and say, wow, I can't wait to do this job with her.
I think it's just being yourself. As cheesy as that sounds, it's like at the end of the day, acting is a job. It's not, it's a job. It's just like some people go work and they sit somewhere from 9 to 5. They're doing their job. I'm just doing my job. It just happens to be a lot more public than what other people are doing. So I think it's just remembering where you came from and just like keeping in mind how hard it is, and it could be taken away at any second. Why would I want to mess that up by acting like I'm better than somebody else, or,
Amazing.
So.
You are Mexican, Egyptian, American. Does your diversity of ethnicity help, or does it bring challenges like being typecasted?
It definitely helps now. I think Walking Dead was the one that kind of helped me break out of the typecast, because I did get typecast as the Middle Eastern girl, where everything that I was doing, I had an accent. Which is fine. I didn't mind it. But it was also kind of like, I want to play a normal teenage girl. Like she could be Middle Eastern, but why am I always, like, I'm not a refugee. I would rather someone who actually is play those kinds of roles. And it felt kind of unauthentic on my end. I almost felt like I was taking it away from somebody else. But at the same time, I was like, well, I have to pay my rent. I have to pay bills. I'm like, I'm not going to say no. And I had a great experience. But it wasn't until I got the role of Hope on Walking Dead that I was able to do other things. And people kind of, looked at me differently. And I never looked Mexican by people's standards. So I could never really get the jobs that I would go out for where it was a Latina or something like that, because like, well, you don't really look Mexican.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
I don't even know what that means either, but I didn't look it. So
being in the limelight has its perks.
Yeah.
It also has its dark sides. I've seen this. So what would you say is the most challenging for your mental health when it comes to being a public figure?
Oh, just people having this idea of you. And the biggest challenge has been, God bless my mom, but her reality show is, I think it's great for her, but they do really exploit you on reality TV. And I mean, I have sympathy, which I'm nowhere near that, but I have sympathy for the Kardashians and the way that they're treated in the media and stuff. I can only imagine what messages they're getting, but I've gotten messages like, I had an eating disorder. That's probably been my biggest struggle in my life. And that was brought to light in the show, and people spoke about it, and I got messages about it. And I didn't get like, not that I'm looking for sympathy. I got messages of like, why don't you just eat a burger? What's wrong with you? Like, why can't you just eat or something? And I was like, it has nothing to do with that. And it's just people learning things that are about you. They don't need to know, and they're not entitled to know. And everyone has an opinion, which is frustrating.
I think part of the point of this podcast is that we get to tell our stories.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I feel like people don't know, and they can only look from their own perspectives. So when somebody's asking the question, why can't you just eat a burger? Is because they can't understand how that can be a sickness.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to share so people can understand, at least give them a different perspective.
Yeah.
On that. Being on a reality TV show can be hard. I didn't know that you were also a part of it. I know your mom was on it, but I didn't know you were a part of it.
I was in the beginning, for the first couple seasons, because we were all living together with my grandparents. And when I I was like 19 when I left my grandparents' house.
Mm.
And I was like, I can't live here anymore. I love them, but it's toxic. You know, everyone knows everything about you. They're from a different time, so, you know, their opinions are a lot harsher than the way things are right now, if that makes sense. So when I moved out, I stopped doing the show, and I would show up every now and then for it, but I will not step foot on that set now. I will just name a ridiculously high price that I know they cannot pay. Just be like, I'm sorry, but I'm not doing it.
What was it that was so hard? You say you got some messages. Were there other things that you were dealing with?
Just people would badmouth my mom to me too, and badmouth my sister, and just comment on the way that I looked, comment on my hair, comment on my weight, and all this stuff. And I was like, why do I have to deal with this? Why? I get it from one person, okay, high school was enough, but why do I have 10,000 people messaging me that are spending their days spreading negativity and trying to tear someone else apart? That is one thing that I've never understood.
Talk to me also about being a woman in the creative industry. I can assume that's pretty hard. Do you ever feel like you, for example, have to look a certain way, or you have to work extra hard to be taken seriously?
Yeah, I think I definitely try to keep to myself a lot when I'm working. I've been lucky enough to where a lot of the directors and the people that I've worked with have been female, and maybe that's just because of the times that I'm working in right now, that everyone's just trying to, you know, there's more female directors, a lot of female writers, which I think has been absolutely amazing. But you know, when I go to set or when I'm at an audition, I don't want to wear something that could be considered too revealing. I don't want to do this. I have to be careful with the way that I speak, because I'm like, I don't want to be looked at as a joke. So yeah, it's just being a little extra cautious about everything.
I've seen you be open about mental health
Mm-hmm.
and to have those conversations. What have you learned through your journey? And I saw you wore a T-shirt too. I was watching videos, old videos of you. I think you were at a conference for a fandemonium or something. You wore a T-shirt that says "Anxiety is my cardio."
I love that sweatshirt. Yeah.
And so talk to me about mental health, and you know, and just for it's kind of a big word right now that everybody uses, but I want to know about your journey with that and discovering your own superpowers that way.
Well, I'm really open with it because when I needed it the most, people weren't open about it. It was looked at as taboo, and like, if you have this problem, like, come on, it's all in your head, get over it, was the way that I grew up. Not with my mom, but mostly with like my grandparents and stuff. So I always thought, like, if I have a platform and I can speak about it and someone can be like, okay, I'm not alone, like, if she's going through it and she's okay, then I'm gonna be okay too. And that's more than I could ever dream of doing. But when I was 14 or 15, when my parents split up, I spiraled into an eating disorder, and it got pretty bad. I think June of 2020 was when I had my wake-up call, and that was after years of thinking that I was like, I'm in recovery, like, I'm fine now. But June of 2020, I got hospitalized, and that was the scariest experience of my life. I was in the ICU for a week. They wouldn't let me stand up or do anything because they were scared my heart was going to fail. And I realized, like, I never did it with the intention of being like, I don't have anything to live for or anything like that. It was just my way of dealing with my anxiety and the depression that I had. So it just got really bad when COVID hit. And after that moment, I was like, we're not doing this anymore. Like, this is just, it's not a way to live. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to my family. It's not fair to anybody. Like, why am I doing this? So it's been a lot of work on myself since then. And there's a lot of like anxieties that come along after being that close to pretty much dying. Like, what if I have like long lasting issues? What if this is going to happen again? Like, I'm not engaging in those behaviors anymore, but what if I did something to my body that is still happening or whatever? So that's something that I deal with now, is like just wondering if I'm okay, reminding myself like I'm not the person that I was 2 years ago. A lot of therapy, which I think if you have the access to it and you can do it, do it.
Is there something that you learned in the middle of therapy for people who are in the position that you were in at that point, right? People who are struggling with that. What are some of the things that helped you get out of it?
A lot of things that helped me were just the people around me that were supporting me. Like I got really lucky with my manager and stuff, for example, where the people that I know, like typically if you're an artist, you're an actor, a singer, your team is going to do whatever it takes to make you happy and to keep you getting on that stage and getting you on set. My manager's not like that. My manager's like, if you're not doing well, stop, we're not doing anything. And then we'll resume when you're doing better, but we're not going to do anything if it's going to hurt you and hinder anything in any way.
How does that feel to have somebody on your team like that?
Oh my God, amazing. It's like I feel so safe with the people that I'm working with that it's just like I don't think I could be in a better position in that sense.
Now that you are on the backside of that and you're covered, and by the way, I'm so sorry because I didn't even know we were friends during that time. I didn't even know to check on you or anything.
It's okay.
What would you say, as you were going through that period in your life, what would you say was there also something that somebody said to you that inspired you? Was there something in that? Because really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give tips and tools to people who are going through that right now.
I don't know if there's something that somebody personally said, because it is one of those things, at least for me, that people would tell me like, oh, you look great. You don't need to do that. You're totally fine. Look at you. Look at you're working. You're this. And none of that ever really had any impact on me. It took me looking at myself in the mirror and being like, you are worth so much more than what you look like and how much you eat or whatever. Like that does not matter in the grand scheme of things. So I think it's finding that will inside of yourself rather than, if you're the kind of person that if someone else tells you like, you're doing great and that in itself is enough for you to be like, okay, no, I'm good to be great, then that's awesome. But for me, I had to make the change.
Who is a role model? Someone that you look up to, and on the flip side, you feel like when you're okay. Who's a role model that you look up to? And on the flip side, do you feel like you are also somebody that women can look up to when they watch you on the big screen?
A role model, I'm gonna go with my mom. I think it's always gonna be my mom because like I said, I know what she's been through and I've been there firsthand experiencing it with her, and just the grace and the way that she has dealt with everything. I don't know anyone that has come out of something of the things that she's gone through as powerful as she is now. And I don't mean money or anything like that. I just mean like she's awesome. And the way that she deals with things is so amazing. And I do think that, I would hope that people look at me and see someone that they want to be like or a role model when they watch me. That's just me. Like I don't really have a filter when I speak online and I just kind of talk about anything. I hope that in itself is enough for people to be like, yeah, no, I want to be like that. And I hope that people pick apart the things that I do that they don't agree with and they take those and they don't do those things, I think there's good and bad in everything and everyone, and you just kind of have to choose your warriors or your battles.
Saying that when you are fully yourself, you also give other people the permission to do the same.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I've seen from you since I've met you, since I've known you. I always end the podcast with one question, and it's my favorite question.
Okay.
Alexa Mansour, if you could speak to young Alexa that is getting bullied, and was unsure of herself,
Mhm.
and just accepted whatever people said about her. If you could talk to her and give her some advice,
Mhm.
what would you say to her?
I would look at her and I'd say, "You're awesome." I think that little Alexa really needed someone to tell her, like, "You're awesome and you're going to be really cool one day." Cuz I know that if little Alexa met me right now, she'd fangirl so hard. So, everything's going to be okay, little girl.
Everything is going to be okay. You are awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this episode and for all the amazing advice. Even I was listening like, wow,
Oh,
your story's
thank you.
amazing. So thank you for being so open and sharing.
I'm so happy to have been able to do this. This is great.
Yes, you're a beast, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I'm dubbing you a beast now.
Thank you.
Please turn the AC on. I'm cooking. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, share it with a friend, all the things. Talk to you guys soon.